Hello. My voice is really hoarse, so I apologize in advance. I've got my little non-branded iced tea that I am not covering the logo of, so I can actually speak. So I just came back, like literally like 7 minutes ago, from watching Wicked for Good, and I have here my little notes that I take completely in the dark inside the movie theater. A lot of them are overlaid. I hate myself. So I think that, I don't know if it's the change of mindset because I went full into analyzing movies after I watched Wicked 1, part 1, and or if it's just because it's worse, but I felt like this one was a significant downgrade from the first one, in the sense that a lot of the flaws in the original film become a lot more apparent in the second part. Namely Michelle Yeoh. What is going on with Miss Yeoh? Why is she so bad? Why is she giving Gal Gadot? Why do her eyebrows not move throughout the entire movie? My notes are literally Michelle Yeoh cannot sing. I hate Michelle Yeoh's acting. And it's like, I love every other movie that she's in. Crazy Rich Asians, she was amazing. Everything Everywhere All at Once, one of my favorite movies. She is an amazing actress. So what is going on with Miss Thing here? What is going on? And I also, I only started noticing this now because I saw it in a TikTok. And so when I watched the movie, I actually paid more attention to it. But Ariana's voice tensions a lot while she is doing a lot of the high notes for Glinda, because obviously she's trained in pop, you know? But all of my friends, I went to watch this with 5 other people. All of us at the end were like, she eats as Glinda, but at the same time, it gets a little bit grating, especially when through more to the end of the film, where it turns into louder high notes, and I feel like that was just like uncomfortable to hear as a person who really likes Ariana Grande, you know, and I just never felt that with Cynthia. So, you know, I felt like all the flashback scenes were really cliche. Oh, and also, spoilers, I guess. I should probably have said that at the beginning of the video. But every flashback scene, especially the Glinda one at the beginning, I felt like they were really just like very cliche. The child actress in Glinda's flashback also, that poor girl, who put her there? There are good child actors out there. Won't say anything more. And I feel like there's a lot of the same issues that were in the first movie, namely color grading being terrible, and also there being a really big problem with contrast, where I feel like in the original musical things are meant to be a lot more somber, but they're very not that. It feels like they're trying to go for a sarcastically happy, you know, like point of view, but they just end up going for like very superficial level commentary on the issues that they want to comment on. I feel like I love Bowen Yang, but I feel like especially his inclusion in the first and second movie makes everything so much more unserious. He is a good actor in SNL, he's a good actor in comedies, but actual serious roles might not, you know, like, I don't know. I know he plays a minor character, but I just didn't really vibe with that. Fiyero at the end looked like a freaking Monster High doll. It was so bad. He looked like a character from Little Big Planet. It was the CGI. I have to talk about the CGI. I don't know if it's just because I am just like an anti-CGI person. Not entirely, but like Hollywood level, like Marvel levels CGI if I just don't vibe with it, like, as a person, or if it's because it's genuinely bad, because I genuinely can't tell anymore. But there's just so much CGI, and you can always tell when it's CGI, and you're just like, it's not fun to watch. All the animals move in such a weird little manner that makes me feel like I'm watching a Disney live action movie, and I really do not jive with that, bro. The Bach and Nessa breakup was very weird and out of place. It feels like they're trying to use it as a plot point, but then it goes too fast, so it's just like, oh, he's gone, oh, he's back, oh, he's gone again. Wasn't that fun, you guys? And that was a feeling that I shared in the first film also. It's like, despite the ginormous runtime and scenes being stretched out and everything like that, it still feels like I'm being flung around from scene to scene. There's a very strong emotional whiplash, and that's something that all of my friends also felt. For example, like, this, I think, one of the better examples of contrast that of that emotional whiplash that they try to use. But like, when Elphaba finishes No Good Deed and it immediately cuts to Oz, just like being a silly guy, it does not give us time to breathe between anything. We're just like, oh, okay, we're in this now, and oh, No Good Deed, and oh, Oz, and oh, Glinda, and I just felt very lost in that. Jeff Goldblum was really good as Oz, though. He's just such a delight to watch. He's such a silly little guy, to a point you just feel like he's playing himself, and I kind of love that. But I feel like there's a lot of scenes where there's no build up, and you're just like, okay, because I know that there's build up in the original, but it just felt like the pacing that they adapted for the film itself felt very odd, and all the other factors definitely don't help it. But there's a lot of good things, obviously. Like, the set design is amazing, astounding performances from everybody except Michelle Yeoh. God, Michelle Yeoh, why would you do this to me? Like, I thought that all of the scenes with the magic were really cool, and like, at the end when freaking Elphaba tells Glinda, like, I love you, I literally jumped in my seat, and all of my friends, like, looked at me, because it was like, the Doomed Yuri, it's real. But I think it's very good. I don't like how the end kind of set up the third movie a little bit. It does a tiny smidgen, a little bit. But I haven't watched the full play before, so I don't know how it ends. But I don't know. This is like one of my only contacts with the actual musical Wicked, so this is like analyzing for what it is. I'm not comparing it to the original musical as much, I suppose. At the beginning, I felt like Ariana's acting was a little bit off. Of course, I love her as Glinda. I think she's a very good fit for that character, and I just love to see her acting and seeing her establish a good relationship with acting again. But just, it felt very like she wants to communicate this very complex character and these very complex emotions, and she's just not completely able to do so in the way that somebody like Cynthia Erivo, who is, like, very, a lot, like, for a bajillion years has been trained in specifically theater, shows, like, just like that look in their eyes that communicates so much. I really like how they don't show Dorothy's face. I was watching it with one of my friends who wants to study film, so I always try to talk about like these like actual like formal techniques with her, And I really like how she leaned into me and she said, like, why aren't they showing Dorothy's face? And I just said, this story is not about her. And I think that it's really good because it's not putting Dorothy as like this very innocent girl. It's putting her as how she is in Elphaba's story, which is a random stranger whose house kills her sister, and who, you know, it doesn't matter if she's like this very sweet, innocent girl, because her actions are symbolic of a larger system that she wants to fight. As with every Hollywood movie, however, the bigger message of, you know, fascism, hello, and corrupt systems gets very muddied and diluted in the film itself. I feel like it relies a lot on the propaganda, but then it's like it does kind of the same thing as this is like a completely out of pocket comparison, but what Hazbin Hotel did with Lucifer, where it's like it was supposed to be like this really menacing character who's like representative of a larger system, and then just making them a silly little goose all the time. Of course, I love Oz for that, but then when I actually have to reflect on the messages in the movie, I'm just like, how do I do that? And you know, when you reflect on the fact that, you know, like Elphaba is just like an animal rights activist and she wants the animal rights, and I feel like they don't really go too far deep into that. They just kind of make her seem like, oh, look at her, she's an activist. And they don't try to actually establish any like very deep meanings beyond that of like they're oppressed and she was oppressed once. And like she makes no effort to learn or to do anything and like to actually learn what the animals want. But you know, it's a 6-hour long 2-parter. Like what else can you want? Costume design was amazing. I really liked the dynamics between Fiyero, Elphaba, and Glinda, especially because the whole time I'm just like, that's a gay man and 2 lesbians. Like, I'm sorry, it's just way too funny. But those are my immediate thoughts. I'm not trying to relate it to like a specific theme. I stopped taking notes halfway through the movie because I was missing the movie by trying to like write in the dark. I felt like the Nessa scenes felt more like a musical. The scene where her and Elphaba are in the office just before they turn Bog into the Tin Man, it felt very musically in the way that they spoke, and I really liked that. Even though I felt like her acting was also a little bit off. I don't know, it just felt weird. A lot of people was like acting in this movie, like in the scene where, if I remember correctly, Jonathan Bailey, Fiyero, is with Elphaba. He's just looking at her like with the crazy eyes. It was scary because like you're supposed to be in love with this girl, and instead he looks like he's gonna like eat her as in like cannibalism, which is definitely, you know, cannibalism is a metaphor for love, you know, like rights. But yeah, it was a doozy. It was a very mixed bag. I rated it on my Letterboxd 3.5 stars because it is a good movie overall, but I felt like I was being very nitpicky throughout. I am that way with 2-parters in general because I just feel like there's more time for me to focus on such like specific little things. I was the same way with Dune. Like for Dune Part 1, I wrote like 2 pages worth of notes. And I don't know, I just felt like Wicked is too Hollywood glam, Marvel, like big Disney, even though it's a Universal project. It felt too modern day Disney live action era Marvel, like post Endgame for me to actually be emotionally invested, or as emotionally invested as my friends were, or as I thought I would be, because I really do like the characters of Elphaba and Glinda, and I really like their dynamics and the dynamics that they have with their world. So it just sucks that it just didn't grasp me as much as I wanted it to. And yeah, those are all my thoughts. I went with green because I do not own any pink clothes. And that is what I have for today. Okay, bye-bye.